So this will be a look at UBoat, release version, patch number 10 I believe. Looking at some basic features of an engagement, setting up an engagement within a convoy that's with destroyer escorts and surviving. And I'll just do the play-by-play as we go. So here we've got a lot of smoke on the horizon, so some good things, and we are going to get set up here. So take a look a little closer through the Ouzo. As you can see, lots of good looking targets here. And we've got great, pretty good sea conditions and sunshine. We're probably going to make this approach, set this approach up so that we're set up at dusk, and will be a lot harder to detect as we close. Look at the internals of the sub, really beautiful detail in this game, and then a complete crew simulation as well, which is pretty unique in this genre so far. Here's what it looks like from the first person view without the Ouzo. You can still see we've got great nice smoke on the horizon. Probably looking at about 4 miles, 5 miles here. Just going to scan around. Beautiful simulation of the ocean and the ship in the ocean. And when you zoom out a bit, or when you zoom in enough, you get the internal workings of the sub, and you can then activate stations and activate or take over first person on any of the crew. Scanning around here a bit on the conning tower.
Bestätige.
Back to the Ouzo. And now the strategic view from the map room with contacts already simulated being plotted. So as you can see, we're approaching from the rear of the convoy. We have escorts at the rear, typically. Sometimes it's fun to pick these off. Sometimes if you're lucky, you can get 2 of the rear escorts before they the first one is always easy. Well, depending on how you set it up. You can sometimes get 2. Zooming in a bit, so we can get we're going to put a line on the map so that we know where these guys are going to be 5 miles down the road. So as we get set up, we're going to find the line, know where the line is for the escorts, and what we will have to approximate as we enter the front of the convoy. Pretty moody music. I'm actually used to it, but at the same time, I still like it. It hasn't become grating, so that says a lot. A nice job with the soundtrack. Just I like to watch the sub just moving in the waves, bit of atmosphere. Okay, so now we have, I think, this is after we have skirted forward quite a bit for about, I believe, around an hour's worth of time, maybe a little more. As you can see, it's much later in the evening now. I think we're probably around 7:30. Where's the clock? It's hard to see. It's up top there. I'm going to say it's around 7:30 p.m. So we're getting close to dusk, and now you can see the orientation looking to the right, where we could see the smoke in the distance. And now we've angled into the line, and we're going to close in on the line of where the convoy will cross and get set up. It's always approximate. You don't know how many escorts are at the front. You don't know the arrangement of the ships. You may have to do some adapting and adjusting, and you definitely will have to do some dodging around once the action starts. As you can see, we are about 2 miles off that line we drew earlier. Probably add an extension. And then we have an escort just entering our sight, and I'm going to say around 3.5 miles or so, just the edge of vision. So we're still on the surface. I haven't called for a dive yet. I'll do that soon. Accelerating time a bit here. Speed things up a little. Notice I'm at full throttle, so I'm probably doing about 13 knots here. Getting darker, which is good. We want our attack to be at dusk or later, so that when things get really cooking, we will not be visible if we have to surface. Or at least we won't be visible if we're outside a kilometer or so. So now we're right on that line, and we're still cooking along. I haven't dived yet. I guess the first escort passed by. It's dark enough now that the sight lines, and here comes a second escort. looks like from the deck now. Through the ouzo. As you can see, things are... I'm not playing with full darkness, so I have a sight advantage, which is why it looks as bright as it does. Okay, I've now called for dive and as well silent running. So periscope depth and silent running. I'm adding some help to my dive team, my dive master there, officer who oversees the dive. So it'll be a little faster. I'll also set up, as you'll see in a second, I'll pick on another officer for depth control so that depth is better managed in the wave action. You don't want to be your conning tower to suddenly be above the waves when you're within sight of a destroyer or an escort. Okay, the other officer has now gone to the listening station, hydrophones. Okay, manage depth steering, so I've selected that now, so the sub will maintain a nice even depth, which also is better for using the attack periscope. Accelerating time a bit again here, and as you can see, the escort is going to pass by in front of me. And I've called for a stop. I'm just sitting stationary until I see what the layout will be like, how I can set up my attack plan. Okay, I'm going to select my first target, which is going to be the furthest away freighter. Secondary target, target A and B. B is the nearer freighter. And probably wait, because if I attempt to shoot at the far freighter first, I'm probably going to hit the first freighter. My torpedoes might not even make it. I'll wait until the first freighter is right in front of me or slightly past before I launch at the second, and then I'll launch at the first a minute later, with the idea that I'll try to get those hits at within the same very short time span before the escorts are notified that there's a hunter. And then the noise and chaos, I'll either take out another one or I'll make my getaway. Just showing you the tubes. We're going to watch some torpedo men do their work here. All this stuff happens in real time or in accelerated time if you choose in this simulation. You can watch all that's going on. This is my first good look at the torpedoes being prepped and loaded. I have an empty tube 1, and they're going to fill it up for me. If you ever have a problem with this and you're on direct orders, sometimes the problem is that you're given direct orders to the guy who is supposed to be overseeing the torpedoes being reloaded. That's why you won't get torpedoes reloaded. So that's a lot of things to watch when you're involved with crew management, as well as giving orders to crew. Speed up the time a bit again. I'm going to let this first escort pass by, and the situation is evolving fairly nicely. There's going to be an escort right behind me as well. That shouldn't be a problem. Calling for all the torpedoes to be loaded now. I guess the tubes were shut. Oh, no, flooded, I'm sorry. So the tubes are all being flooded now. I'm going to select the first 2 tubes for a salvo, a near close salvo. I do my salvos usually around 30 meters spread. Especially at a closer range like this, you don't need to do them a long way apart. But in case one's a dud, I do 2. Salvo of 2 at 2.5 meters, I find a good overall depth that works for me. It's nice that we have multiple views, that you can get a little more involved. Doesn't just begin to feel like a pure strategy game with fancy graphics. So here we are, we're getting close to where I want to be. I'm still waiting. Accelerate time a little more. Obviously we are hidden, and I don't want to get too close to this first target when I launch. I may even have to reverse and back up just a little bit after I launch my first two. Just about ready to go with the first salvo now. And there we go. Los. 2 eels on their way, loaded with destruction for this freighter. And then I will unlock the first target and lock the second target. Still working on this other torpedo, which is interesting since, as you saw, we just released 2 torpedoes. It looks like tube 1 is open. I guess the simulation isn't perfectly coordinated with the action, but it is fun to watch what's going on anyway. Now they'll lift that torp up on the rail. I think these things weighed around over a ton, actually. All of this takes quite a while. I'm actually skipping ahead a bit. Here's a view from the bulkhead to the front torpedo room looking on. Not a lot of living space. You can see the bunks folded up when they're using the machine on this side. Same for the other side. You have to fold those bunks to lift the torpedoes to the other set of tubes. Just about ready to get back to the action. Watch them slide it in and roll. Turn the wheel, which moves the mechanism. Slides that fish into the tube. And she's loaded. Now, we're about ready to launch our second set of eels here. Selected. I've selected one. I'm holding one in reserve. I'm close enough that I can wait and see what happens with this first one rather than using up 2. Never know. It's nice to have one tube loaded and ready to go, especially when you're in the pack of hounds like I am here, even though it's dark now.
Halbe Fahrt voraus. 30 Sekunden. 20 Sekunden.
Just about ready to contact with the more distant target here. We'll watch that, and then we'll watch the close target. It's a hit. We're looking good. Hopefully we hit with both, so that ship is toast instantly. And then the other eels should be just seconds away here, 10 seconds. Oh, and we've got a hit on our close target as well, so we're batting 100 on this game. Beautiful. Now we just have to look at the scenario and decide how we're going to make our getaway. I think initially I'm going to continue south and then do a run toward the west out of this convoy completely. I don't think I got depth charged at all in this particular scenario. I'd played a similar one the day before where I did get depth charged. I survived with some minor damage. I had to dive to 200 meters and keep zigzagging for about half an hour before they left me alone. Still in alarm mode, of course, which is really tiring for the crew. It's always a good idea to shut that down as soon as you can. Surprised I didn't. By this time, I probably will very shortly here. Go to decks awash, take a little bit better view of the surroundings. Now fully surfaced and blasting out of there. I actually went back in this scenario. I don't think I recorded the next segment. I went back an hour later, found the two ships. They were both gone, but the cargo was floating, and I did manage to pick up some machine parts and some sausages and some med kits, and I actually picked up 6 crewmen as well. Not going to show you that though. Didn't record that part, or didn't make use of it. Coming back to La Rochelle, to a nice welcome home. And some awards and rewards for this last patrol. Did some very good tonnage on this patrol, which is always nice. Oh no, it was kind of an average patrol. Not bad. Some good experience points. All of these things allow you to upgrade your crew so you have more efficient and faster workers doing their jobs and doing sometimes more jobs with better skill levels. It's always painful to lose one because you've spent time accumulating these levels of skill that make your missions a little less dangerous and more effective. But that's the way it goes in the silent service, the U-boat service. Looking around La Rochelle. The end. Hope you enjoyed this little survey of this mission.